This is Tom and Paula Grace from Light of Christ Radio with a story from our Parables of Holy Week series.
You are welcome to watch this video simply for the story, or you can use it as a basis of a small group study.
The small group study instructions are below the video in the More section.
Today, we continue our series Parables of Holy Week as we see Jesus teaching on his authority from Luke 20.
Well, Paula, as we begin our conversation today, we want to set the context of our story.
So we know Jesus is teaching in the temple during the season of Passover. Now, he was welcomed into Jerusalem on Sunday by jubilant pilgrims shouting Hosanna.
On Monday, he came back into Jerusalem and overthrew the money changers' table and stopped the market in the temple for a time.
So on Tuesday, Jesus returned to the temple. Now, the leadership council, the Sanhedrin, probably met after Jesus had stopped that market to decide what to do about the Jesus problem.
So they wanted Jesus to say something treasonous or blasphemous so they could prosecute him and on some kind of charge. If Jesus says something treasonous, then Rome can sentence him. If he said something blasphemous, then the council could prosecute him.
Either way, they would be rid of Jesus, and they thought they had the perfect question with which to trap Jesus, which brings us to a story from the Word of God.
One day, as Jesus was teaching the people and preaching the good news in the temple, the leading priests, the teachers of the religious law, and the elders came up to him. They demanded,
"By what authority are you doing all these things? Who gave you the right?"
Jesus said, "Let me ask you a question first," he replied. "Did John's authority to baptize come from heaven, or was it merely human?"
They talked it over among themselves. If we say it was from heaven, he'll ask us why we didn't believe in John. But if we say it was merely human, the people will stone us because they're convinced John was a prophet. So they finally replied they didn't know.
And Jesus responded, "Then I won't tell you what authority I do these things."
Watching for their opportunity, the leaders sent spies, pretending to be honest men. They tried to get Jesus to say something that can be reported to the Roman governor so he would arrest Jesus. "Teacher," they said, "we know that you speak and teach what is right and are not influenced by what others think. You teach the way of God truthfully. Now tell us, is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?"
Well, he saw through their trickery and said, "Show me a Roman coin, whose picture and title are stamped on it."
"Caesar's," they replied.
"Well then," he said, "give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God."
So they failed to trap him by what he said in front of the people. Instead, they were amazed by his answer, and they became silent. A story from the Word of God.
If you are using this video for a small group application, after you've watched this video, try retelling the story from what you have heard.
Then read the text. Discussion questions are below the video in the More section.
We hope you'll discover something from this story to apply to your everyday life.
May you be blessed.